Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in here on Flurry Sports. If you like what you hear today, let me just get this out right away. Thank you so much for listening. We have a reaction up on the channel right now to John Cena's whole last show, his last match. You can see he's reacted real time. There's a lot of conversation going on right now about John Cena. How good was his last match? And I thought it was only fitting that here today you get to help me react to his last year in WWE. This is every match here on, the way YouTube does it, baby, tier maker. So we're going to rank them. I've got some categories here for us today. If you have different opinions on John Cena's matches, get in the comments. Let me know where I'm wrong. Let me know where I'm right. I thought this was a fun way to react to his last year as I was thinking of what do I think of John Cena's retirement run, basically. I think and we'll kind of go through it as I talk through the matches here today. I think what I like about doing this format and going by the matches is my honest opinion is there were a lot of ups and a lot of downs. I think it is hard to argue with the sentiment that there weren't some drop balls. And I think what I want to push back against is the notion is that just because they didn't get every single part of this right doesn't mean that there wasn't still parts that were as good as any last wrestler's run. Because I also want to point out, like, not most. I can't really think of a wrestler who got a prolonged retirement run like this besides like Ric Flair's last stretch in WWE. But it wasn't as big as this. Even though the finale is definitely, at least right now, as I'm recording this, more universally beloved for Ric Flair. Also, Rick wrestled many, many more times after that. So John currently has a leg up there as well. So it's hard to get a wrestler's retirement perfectly right. Let's not hold that against the John Cena retirement either. But that said, I hope that lets you know I'm going to really like a lot of this stuff today, but not everything. The categories help with that. Our categories today, top to bottom, they've been calling the GOAT all year. So let's see if there are any matches that I would prescribe as some of the greatest all time. For me, to get to that status, it would have to be a match that I think everyone would agree is one of John Cena's best. I would say one of the best matches of the year to be in that category of just like, this is an all-time bout for what it was. So we'll kind of get into that. I think in mind one that's going to be in there for now, and we'll see if more join it. But that's a little bit of a tease. And then I have must watch. There's a lot of good stuff here. I think some stuff that you should definitely seek out if you're a completionist, but I wanted a category that was like, these are good enough that it's like, if you're interested in wrestling at all, you really should watch this match, especially since WWE has been kind enough. Pretty much all of John Cena's matches from this final run are available on YouTube. So a lot of these you're able to go find. And I'm going to put the ones there that I think you should go out of your way to watch because they're that good. Pretty good, better than the other categories, more good than bad, pretty self-explanatory. Harmless. This is my middle category today because, again, I think there's some value to, like, I didn't want to say meh because there's some value watching all of John Cena's final run. So to me, this was, it didn't hurt, right? There are some matches here who are bad enough that it's like, this was a detriment to your last run. Harmless is, if you're filling up 12 months of wrestling content, some is just maybe not going to be for me, but it certainly wasn't harmful in my opinion. And some folks will like it more than others, but I think it was fine to include. Skippable, I think that to me could have been pretty bad, but I think in a run like John Cena's, where again the notion is you would want to go out of your way to find all these matches, I think a match being skippable says a lot. So to me, that's not harmless. I think a match being skippable in John Cena's run's not great. Bad is what it is, right? It's a bad match. It's a straight up bad match. And then, of course, the antithesis, the WOT, right? The worst of all time. I think I'm wondering myself if I'm going to end up going that low on any particular matches. I think there's some that maybe jump out to you all, but for what this run could be and what it was, now that we look back on it, is any of this this was an all-time bad decision, bad match? And that would be that category. As we look at the matches considered today, I'll be talking about them and going through them. I guess spoilers if you don't want any of these matches talked through pretty thoroughly. I'm going to give my opinions on them, a little bit of the spots involved and why I think they're. In terms of how I'm making decisions today, because I want to have fun with it, this is my look back at the whole run. I've made a couple decisions. First off, and you see how I've got them listed, these matches are going to be in chronological order. I'll talk about them that way. I am not going to be ranking non-singles matches, and with one notable exception, any TV matches for John. I'm just going to be talking about those premium live events. And for this one, pretty obviously, I would think that includes Saturday night main event matches. All of them I'm including in this because I think they're all talk worthy and elevated above those TV matches. So you'll see those on here again. His non-singles matches from this past year and his television matches, but I don't have those on for one simple reason. Doesn't mean I won't talk about them or that what's happening in between the premium live events won't influence. I think that's going to be my trade-off. Is I'm ranking the match, but I'm also ranking what they are doing with his retirement run around that match leading up and then immediately following the aftermath of these pieces. So things like, how do you rank a press conference? How do you rank an angle? I'm going to tell you how I would, and you can tell me in the comments I'm a big dumb dummy, and that's our deal. All right, that's the trade-off. But I hope you enjoy how we're going to kind of talk through it today. And honestly, if you're a little mad I'm not ranking every single match, I just didn't find any of the multi-man matches or the TV matches, again, with one notable exception, to be, better than harmless. I just didn't have any of them. Maybe some pretty good, but just they weren't going anywhere, and they were killing time. So I guess that is my opinion on it in a nutshell in terms of the quality of match. I also just think there's enough fun singles matches to talk about. I think all of those TV matches and those multi-man matches for the first part were building to these other ones. So I just was having a hard time thinking of how do I compare something like the Money in the Bank tag match to the other matches on here that seemed specifically John Cena centric, whereas that tag match was, coming off of, it was Money in the Bank. They needed Cena on the card. They were building to the next pay-per-views and setting up more stuff with Cody. I just think that's a good example. And the TV matches are building to other things. So that is my notion on that. So if you don't see those there, that is why. But I will still mention them. We'll talk through it. But we start the year with John Cena's first match of his retire run. We kick off with the 2025 Men's Royal Rumble. I'm going to pull this up here just so we can talk about it. So I'll put it in the middle for now, though it will not stay there. I think this is an interesting match to look back on for two reasons. One, in the context of it being a year out. We are less than a month away from the 2026 Royal Rumble. So I think, we've gotten to see how the winner and Jey Uso played out. Or didn't play out. I think we've gotten to see how the John Cena elements played out. And that second part is important to me for this list is I'm ranking it, yes, as a match you should consider watching and like the match itself, but also as specifically a piece of John Cena's retirement run and how it fits in there, which is a little hard to do with the Rumble when John Cena's not in, 75% of this match. Looking back at it for this list, I think my biggest knock on the match is also a little bit of a backhanded compliment, which is when Cena and a couple entrants before him, like once we hit number 21 in this match, the final run of like people who could win this match are awesome. I think I don't love that this match leaned into there were so many people who could win it in the time in the way they did, which is we saved all the big moments for the end. Like going back to it to kind of talk through some of those beats, I would say, once Roman and Punk and Seth enter this match and, we open with Rey and Penta, which is great. And we have some good spots, but I really don't think we get any meat on the bones besides fun Rumble until that last stretch. And we're like, oh, here are all the people who could actually win it. And they crammed so much story into the last 10 entrants, which I appreciate. And there's literally no one in that last batch. Like even Damian and Drew, like spin off into their own thing. LA Knight gets a shout. Like everyone gets something out of this. You can argue that you wish certain people won who didn't. I think especially now, Jay's win is less popular than ever. I was a big defender at the time, and honestly, I still like that he won because I think that's a fun thing to do with the Rumble. I don't think I don't think it was the wrong move to have him win. Unless maybe I'm silly because maybe now it's so clear that that match with Gunther, the fallout was never going to be as good. I just feel like they could have done more with it. I don't think Jay's run as champ. I don't think it's wrong to reward the most over guy at the moment with a Rumble win, figure it out, make it work, do something with it. I think the fact it didn't work here could be as much about the specific people involved as other pieces. But I got to be honest, looking back, so it's not going to go too high because, again, so much of this match isn't around John Cena. And that same part of the match is definitely so much weaker than the last parts. But everything with Punk, Roman, and Seth coming out of it was great. I, even now, especially in hindsight, have actually warmed up more to the final three being Cena, Jay, and Logan because it was such a good double swerve of Logan is here because no one wants him to win. And that was clear at the time in different pieces. And it was like, but is he going to win? Like, will they do that instead of Jay and just boo the living hell out of him? But what I like is the swerve of we aren't going to give you the worst possible option, but the swerve of John's not winning here either. Like, I think we were set up for Logan eliminates Jay, big heel pop. John eliminates Logan. Instead, we get to John and Jay and everybody's like, what the hell's going on? And then I can't get over it. And you're going to see this with this first part of this year. I really do think because of some things that we'll get to with the heel turn, and I won't sugarcoat it now, just a really awful execution of John Cena as a heel. I don't think people are giving enough credit to. One of the reasons why I think it's so bad is because they set it up perfectly. I loved, like, John Cena even coming into the Rumble. We're going to talk about the Chamber, but John Cena coming into the Rumble was already setting up, there's so much pressure on my final year. This final year is about the title. Like, I think now people are like, why did John Cena have to? It was always about the title. That's the whole deal with the Rumble. You get the main event Mania. You're going to pick a champion. So I think it was great. I think it's funny now because it's like, could we have bookended the year with Cena and Gunther and gone that route instead? There's something there. And maybe when we do a booking video on the channel, if you want to see that, let me know in the comments, like the video, let me know you want to see more like this. But I think for me, the way it went down and then the press conference afterwards where Cena very clearly, like, he doesn't take the moment away from Jay. And I think it was so smart that they did it this way that for me, this was as exciting a finish to the Rumbles I've seen in a long time. I think you could argue there was more story elements in this Rumble than they've had in a very long time, maybe since the Brock Lesnar dominant run interrupted by Drew, who eventually won. I believe that was the 2020 Rumble right before the pandemic hit. Like, before that, for men's Rumbles anyway, because we've had some really good, in my opinion, women's Rumbles recently. This was my favorite. It's just a real tale of two halves. But because of how it ended for John, I don't think you can tell the story of this final year without it. I don't think it's quite must watch because I think highlight clips could maybe still get you there. And again, it's a whole Rumble match to get to the John Cena parts. But even the last stretch without him is good. I think it has to be pretty good. Like, this is a good Rumble, in my opinion. I think the last part is great. I think I would be like, if someone's like, I want to watch Cena's final year, I'd be like, well, you really should watch the Rumble, and especially his press conference. But maybe that's the takeaway, is the press conference and that story beat maybe almost even overshadows the Rumble itself for John. Because now in the moment when he doesn't win, I don't know if it hits as good. But for me in the moment, I wasn't bummed to see John. Like, this did happen, right? No one was like, oh, John's not going to be involved now. Of course he was. So it sets it up great. Now we head to Elimination Chamber. So this is where, again, I'll put this in the middle and we'll see if it moves around. This is, for me, still a part that was important for me to talk about, which is nothing in wrestling is objective, right? So I'm sure most people maybe even disagree with me on this. I just don't think because I didn't like what came later, I have to not like this and what happened on this show. I think the match and the angle after are one thing in my mind. I think the lead up to this as well. I think like what a perfect story beat for where we were going that John Cena of all people didn't earn his way into the chamber, and like we were laying those breadcrumbs. Punk of all people, like everyone in this match was great. No one felt out of sorts like being here. I think it was a really great crowd because there's a mix of people like Logan that you don't want to win again, but everybody else has beats with each other, with all eyes still being on Cena. I think this was the, unlike the Rumble, this is fully about Cena, and just even if he wasn't going to win, whoever won was going to cost him, right? So I think that setup was perfect. The beat of I'm announcing myself for the chamber immediately following the Rumble. I've earned it after years of service. It was such a nice layer to this story, and we get there, and then the way this match unfolds, I like every part, even before Cena comes in. I think I even still remember Punk messing with the lights in this pod. I'm going to get to it right now. For me, this is, I think this is the most I've ever enjoyed a elimination chamber match, and maybe right there I've lost you. I think this is an awesome stipulation because even when there's not story beats, this match is great. Other ones are coming to mind right now, but at the very least, it's up there, right? I've really enjoyed some. The Kofi Mania chambers coming to mind. Bray's win, obviously the original with Michael's last world championship win are up there among others. I'm sure I'm forgetting, but what I like about this one, and it's in that category because this through line was awesome. We had the tease that we knew on the show The Rock was going to appear. We knew that he was going to tempt Cody for his soul, whatever that means. And I know I am making myself mad even mentioning The Rock's involvement in Cena's retirement run, but this was awesome. Not knowing who was going to be, and the layout of Punk and Seth and Cena especially. I don't know if I enjoyed any part of Cena's in-ring work this year more than the mini match we got in here between him and Punk. I don't think that's a hot take. I think I saw it a lot at the time, and now people are maybe forgetting about it a bit. But I think when you watch this match back, it is the moment this year, save a couple other matches that will come up, and I think it's great that these longer matches can emulate something they were able to get out of 5 minutes of this chamber match, where I was like, oh, Cena and Punk is one of the greatest rivalries of all time. It was great because this was one of the times this year where I went, oh my God, Cena is retiring while he can still do it. What a novel and like great thing, because I was like, this is awesome. This would have been awesome 10 years ago. It's great now. And tying in that Seth lost himself in this. This is Seth's descent, tying in that, which leads us to Mania. He cost Punk. Cena very aggressively takes control there, and kind of ties in a way that made sense for his character. He wins the match, ruthless aggression. There he goes. He gets a big win. He sets himself up. Then we have the heel turn, right? Cody comes out to celebrate with Cena, and call that out there, kind of setting up that match. Rock comes out. We get the big twist. You can watch that heel turn online. I think I am just one. Some people can't do this. I can separate it. The heel turn was perfect. I think the heel turn was awesome. Doesn't mean I think they should. I can think many things at once. Not all the time, but right now I can. They shouldn't have done it. Have they not? You know what I'm saying? Like if this wasn't locked in, if step 2 of 2 steps wasn't confirmed for Mania, that's a no-go for me, dog. I don't care how good step 1 was. That said, we got what we got, and we got part 1, and part 2 fell flat. But I can think that and still think this was unbelievable. I think for me, for 2 reasons. I think this isn't GOAT for me because I think this is my probably favorite chamber of all time. I think it's certainly must watch. And I think there's an argument that this is still one of the best moments of all time. I think more and more time that passes, this moment will be disconnected from the parts of the year that were bad. And what we will do is remember all the good parts, this being the first big one of them. And I just do. I think this run from Rumble to Chamber was as good as it gets. Like, I just don't know how they could have done it better. It was a great idea. I see why they pulled the trigger. It's a shame that the people involved in this great idea couldn't execute the next steps as what they wanted. And that's not for me. That's what we've heard from them, is it didn't go to plan. So that's a shame. But this match is perfect in my opinion. So it's certainly a must watch. And I'm putting it up here maybe to make a point of I'm not deterred by what came next. I still think it's excellent. So now, to prove a point, let's just put this right down here. The Mania match is the worst of all time. It is the worst main event of all time. I think it's indefensible now because the people involved, I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to say, to defend my point of how good the heel turn itself was, we got great Cena character. Like, that next night on Raw is perfect too. And it just shows me that it's like we had this planned. We were good. And to ruin something that good is awful, is really bad, because this wasn't just bad. It was such a drop ball. I don't think the whole idea, things are worse when you're that close to being good. Falcons lose the Super Bowl. That sucks. Falcons lose the Super Bowl up 28. Like, we had them, dude. We had them. So I think this match is that bad for me. I just don't. I love Cody. Like, this is Cody's worst thing he's done since returning to WWE. Every part about it. The match was not fun. The buildup was confusing once we got past. As soon as Cena had to reinteract with Cody, we lost it, because Cena's vindication for the heel turn still makes sense. But it's weird to look back now, because I was trying to look into this for this ranking. I wonder how fast it became apparent The Rock wasn't going to be as involved as they wanted, because the vindication for being with The Rock always made sense, but they don't really go there. And I think it's because they were always waiting for the next, yep, I'm in, we're there, it's happening, like, here's the next steps. And obviously I think they still weren't full rug pull until Mania, because we still got Travis. But the whole match being a slow, bad build-up to a Travis Scott run-in and an anticlimactic finish is unforgivable. It's also, I'm sorry to rub salt in the wound, like, they had it set up in the get-go. We get another Cody John match later in the year that is so much better than this. A little bit of a spoiler. So it's like, we ruined. This would have been great at Mania. This would have been awesome at Mania. So it just has to be worst of all time, worst execution, and just worst product. Because, like, the Travis Scott element is terrible. I don't even really know why he was involved in the heel turn. But, like, listen, him in the heel turn doesn't bother me. Him being involved any further here, weird. Because I think you could have justified it. No one cares if Travis Scott is involved if he's just Rock's, like, weird henchman. Like, he's not his own character, but he's an extension of The Rock. Would have been fine. But that's not what they do. And I think it's worth being said, and I think I will almost talk about it more in this next match that we're going to talk about with Cena. I agree that it's like the whole, I want to ruin wrestling, so therefore this match will be terrible. Shouldn't be, because that's not the goal of Cody, It takes two to tango. One of you wants this to be the wrestling's over and ruined, and the other one wants to save wrestling. Surely the match should still be watchable. And this just isn't. It is skippable, and it's not rewatchable, and it's actively terrible. So that's where it is. It's just not good. You can try and defend what they were going for, or even seen. I haven't heard anyone defend this match. I've heard people defend the decision for Cena to be heel. I've heard people defend the build or his character, not the match itself. So for this list, it's got to be down there. Now, next, I think is a good example of like talking through things in terms of him as a heel character, because we get him versus Randy heading into Backlash. For me, this was it's going to be on the lower end for sure. Harmless is its peak. Like talking through it totally makes sense for Cody to Randy as the pipeline. We're going to see as we go through stuff. It takes us months. I really felt this as I was rewatching this. We just can't. I'm almost more in favor of this match now because we're a little more out of the murk of what's happening with Rock, even by now. You know, like we're just not waiting on that. But this match is really slow. I kind of like the build with him and Randy, but it should have been longer. It's also, you know, instead of it being about him and Randy's history, they didn't even really play into like, we got one promo that somewhat touched on all the terrible things that Randy has done in character and John's version into that. And that should have been the real story here. I think it's a shame looking back now. The thing I can't shake my head on is I think honestly, this to me is skippable. I don't think it's bad, but I think it's skippable. And I think a John and Randy match in his last year being skippable is a real shame and borderline a crime when, you know, some of the most fun matches we'll get to later gave you the blueprint for how you should have done this match. This should have been Spot Fest. This should have been Tribute Palooza. This should have been a jukebox of greatest hits of spots from their previous matches. But it's hard when John can't be John in the way he's doing this heel character at this time. So you know, we can argue when we get in the booking if there was a different way for him to do that in the ring. I personally don't understand how the most booed wrestler I've ever seen in my whole life, which is John Cena. I watched John's. I was 5 years old when John Cena debuted, so I've literally grown up with him in wrestling. I don't understand how WWE didn't. We all the time, right? The lesson we take now is when a heel starts getting cheered, change nothing. Don't change the character. People like it as it is. Do the same character things, just good, you know? Like, don't suddenly change it. John Cena was capable of getting booed without not doing any of the fun stuff, or like still doing it, but as an like, I don't mean this bad. John Cena, by all accounts, great dude. He can be unlikable. He's very polished. There was a way for him to do corporate heel, and he didn't do that. He didn't do, in my opinion, like oblivious heel where it's like, oh, they're booing me. Who cares? Like that was the character for like actual years of his life. So he really went all in. They wanted to do cartoon heel. He did that. I don't think that worked in ring against Randy. This is skippable. You would watch this if you were a completionist, but I do think it's harmful because I think there was so much more meat on the bones, and this is still John's heel character when it doesn't make sense. I think this is my point, right? Because I'll put this right here and it's going to stay here. We leave that. We head through now into the first Saturday night main event for John this year with all the story beats against R-Truth. I wish there was a way this could have came before Randy, because this to me fleshes out what his heel character could have gone for. I was starting to buy in here a little bit. I still liked a lot of his heel promos. It just wasn't coming to the ring. It's perfect. Yeah, have him bully R-Truth. This is great. Insane that they would release him afterwards. That's my opinion on that. I can't believe they would release R-Truth. It makes no sense. I'm glad he's back in the company. They should never let him go. Some people should just be there forever. He's one of them. This was a great involvement. This didn't have to be anything more. I don't think there's a world where this was maybe higher on the list. Some people would really like this. I think this is the only way you get this match is with this dynamic. I think this is one where John being a dick works because he kind of even feels bad about it, which should be the deal when we're definitely turning him back. our truth on this show makes sense. Like we're on Saturday Night Main Event. Again, to me, the reason this is harmless is because you had to fill up 12 months of Cena. This being one of them, perfectly fine. It is not bad. I don't think it's good because the in-ring stuff doesn't make it good, but I don't have any problem with it. I think this part of the heel character was totally not offensive to me at all. I think it made sense. In fact, this part was good enough for me that before we got the match with Cody, and now that I've had more time to digest it by the time we get to SummerSlam, this is the match that I think of where I'm like, how the hell did we just delete the heel character? Like there was enough meat on this bone. I've said that a few times now, but there was enough justification to cancel out the heel character. You've done the work. You didn't have to go Jedi mind trick. There was never a heel turn. We didn't have to do. I'm actually a good guy now. I'm back, baby. I get it. So I know I'm skipping a little bit ahead in time, but as I mentioned earlier, I'm not covering Money in the Bank because it is a multi-man match. Again, I think good, but I think we're playing into the heel piece. I think we're setting up future stuff. So the Clash of Champions. So we'll put it here middle so I can talk about it, figure out where I feel. Him versus Punk, especially coming off of Chamber. I almost wonder if you should have flipped this with Randy. I know Punk had other stuff happening with Heyman, so that makes sense. I get why we couldn't do it. I understand it, but I just think that order maybe could have made more sense. You built more. There was more meat. There was more reason between John and CM Punk right away. Randy, you could have put in anywhere on the calendar. But I think this match is underrated, especially, again, I'm talking about the build up to it and everything with it. This is where I mean, where between the Truth feud and then the Punk feud, Cena as a heel makes sense. We're getting great promos. Punk versus Cena with Cena as the heel and Punk being like, I knew it, but also talking him out of it a bit is great. Just you were always the Yankees, and Cena being like, why are you mad? You did this. You told me. He's calling out. This is where he's calling out people who don't work with the company anymore. I just think they're having a lot of fun with this, and it's evident. And so therefore I had more fun with it. This is not going to be as high as I'd like it to be because it ends in interference. And we just didn't need it. You just didn't need to. You could add Punk lose, and like that could have fueled Punk's character. We didn't need run-ins. Punk losing wouldn't have. I don't know if I think if they could do it over again, they would have had a clean finish. I think they didn't know they were going to. I don't think they wanted to justify heel Cena with like big wins. I think they wanted him to regret it. And then they really pushed that regret button hard, like we talked about, by the time they get to SummerSlam. But I think for this match, the first parts, it's, it's better than harmless. I think it is pretty good because I think if I'm including, you definitely have to watch some of those promos. I think they're the parts along with his first promo where he bullies that kid. These are some of my favorite Cena promos as a heel. So I think that's really good, especially coming off rewatching full. Cena's heel turn was anger at us as the fans and anger at, justified anger. And I love that. I wish the R-Truth part could have dug in more because I love the character flex that he didn't necessarily feel justified against R-Truth. I think here we're playing with that more where maybe he felt most justified against Punk and Punk using that too. And I just felt this was great. It's a shame that rewatching it back, I wish because in the moment, what it felt like is this isn't going anywhere and neither of these guys are going to still be in this feud leaving this, which stinks. That we couldn't feel like this was going to be a mini feud or built longer or done more with it as a solo thing. Because if this becomes something like what the Logan Paul match or the AJ match end up becoming, where they're just like, Cena's monster of the week to go through and you tell that story instead. And again, I'm sure WWE would have liked to do that too. In hindsight, I think they're still finding their footing here at this point. That part's a shame, but I do think it's pretty good. As much as I've hemmed and hawed on it, I don't want to miss it. Like I said in Chamber, I don't think anyone all year, except maybe exception of AJ in some weird ways, Gunther, I don't think Cena has better chemistry with anyone but Punk. This match is great. People are into it the whole time. I think it would be must watch if I could remove the feeling of inevitability of this just won't end clean. So without that stakes element, it can't go any higher, but it's better than harmless. It just is. So it is pretty good. Now, I've been teasing it a lot. We're finally here, SummerSlam. So I may have talked out of order about Money in the Bank a little bit, but again, we get here. I'll put this in the middle for now to talk about it. Literally the night before, it's so weird to think back on now. Literally the night before, Cena pulls the plug completely. We've had weeks of Cody kind of building this up, right? Thank you for pausing and letting me drink. I hope you are staying hydrated today or tonight or wherever you are as well. I think is so weird. It was so weird to do that. I just think there was you could have had John realize mid-match. If I want to be fair, and if other matches are going to get elevated by things around them, I think I'm mixed bag on what's around this match, and I'm teasing this part out so that I can get to the match itself because I have a very different opinion on it. I didn't like it. Wasn't there was a better way to do this, but it was the right decision. That's the way to word it. He should have gone back to face. This match was better because he was wrestling as his face self. Could he have done that as a heel? I think he still could have. Because what I like is that Cody wasn't like, we're cool now. Cody carries that in the match of like, I don't still trust you. You can say what you want. Well, let's prove it in the ring. Prove that you're still John. Like, I want to beat you at your best. I think that story works. I think you could have got there more gradually. I think John doesn't even really say I'm turning face because I'm not my best self, which I think is a compelling story. He pretty much looks, which maybe you like, but he basically looks on the SmackDown before and goes, this isn't working. And our last match wasn't good. It's like more how it came across to me of this is done. And don't worry, like we're not running this back. You should still watch because this is going to be different. So in that way, it built the match because it was like, what the hell is going to happen? This match rules. This match is great. I really think the only hindrance of this match in itself, like the chaos, the carnage of it, the fact that they went no DQ and really leaned into that and still had the edges of the heel element. As I'm watching through it, and maybe you don't feel this way, to me, I like didn't know who was going to win. There were high stakes, good false finishes, really good in ring / like DQ work from Cena. Weirdly, at the time, looking back at comments, people were like, well, of course it was good. Like he got to like cheat a little bit with it being like a stipulation. Why are we knocking on people for being savvy? You know what I'm saying? Like that was a smart choice. Like let's revel in it. But at the time, people were out on this, and I get it. To me, watching back, truly, if you can do this, and this was the hardest for me to do, so I'm still not fully like this match is only worsened because of the Mania match. Because I'm watching it going, this should have been fucking at Mania, and Rock runs out during it. And we just do this there. And when I take that cap off, and if I'm able to, this ruled. They shouldn't have done anything different. This was great. I don't know if other people are feeling this way. This has helped Cody's character for me because I think he now feels more complex because of how he had to feel about Cena during this match and how he had to handle it. Like, he was in the moment and Cena just got to be like, hey, don't worry, I'm a good guy again. No hard feelings. Like, I think that's complex. I think that's good. I think the spots in this match are rad. I think it's a fun watch. I don't think it's GOAT because of the pieces I mentioned of the outside stuff, but it is must watch for sure. It's really fun. To me, this is both in canon, I guess you would say. Like, I think WWE clearly saw this as, and chapter 2 of the year, we're back. He's not champ anymore. I think it's a shame that like Cena gets his groove back. Doesn't happen while he breaks that record. And again, I didn't say this earlier. It was good that he broke the record. I think that was something the company wanted as well. So this match was cool. It was a get back on Cody. If it was always going to be that, again, I wonder if you could have picked the fillers better, knowing that this was inevitable, and save things like Punk or Randy, where there could have been more stakes after, if we knew they weren't going to win the belt. But that aside, I mean, this was really, I don't think they could have done that match, that specific part, better. So kudos to them. And like, I can't believe they salvaged the year from that point, to the point where I'm like, I feel better about the year than I feel bad about it, like more positives than negatives. So good moves by them. We move on. And now we're in a little bit of a rut where they're like kind of figuring out, what do we do next? What's the next big pieces? We get Brock's around. Brock's freaking here and he's doing shit. I have a lot of, Brock is one of the first people in wrestling I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And to keep it short and to keep it where it doesn't become the point of this video, I wish I could root for Brock in a more wholehearted way, besides just sometimes being like, hey, we don't have to think about the people are when we watch stuff. So him getting involved at this point, and when we get to the match especially, is mud in the water. So much so that I think people overlook the Paul match. And again, I'm not talking about TV matches here, so we have some stuff. But the Clash of Bears match is so fun. I think it's must watch. I think at this point, it's like, why wouldn't you watch this? This is great. This is Everybody Hates You, Logan Paul. This is Cena getting to go, my heel turn. This is the right way to be like, my heel turn was a mistake, in character being like, no, I should be good. This is why you suck. I don't. Really great. Wrestling is my life versus wrestling is my hobby was a great angle for them to take in promos building up. The Paris crowd was always going to make this fun. And they stumble upon what I wish they would have stumbled upon sooner, which is if Cena just kept doing tributes to other wrestlers in the match, everyone would have been this fun. Because he finds the tribute to Styles in this match, and he pulls out some other moves in year 2. I think this is where we get like an end of days. So he's starting to incorporate, like, I'm not going to get to wrestle everybody, so here we go. It's so fun. It definitely must watch. It is, in some ways, like, this was one where it's like, is he could have lost to Paul here. Definitely not in the sense of what he'd just gone through. Like, this was a big win for him. But because it was Logan Paul, no one cared that he was going to win for sure. That's what we wanted to happen. It was the right choice. Paul was not hurt from this. He looked good in it again. So great fun exhibition. The match itself was really good. Paul, he's really good at wrestling. So, and Cena made it a point to highlight that. And he said so in interviews, like this was someone he wanted to put over in some ways. And I think he did. So this is, I don't think you can watch this match and not enjoy it or not smile. It doesn't belong in any bigger story, but I also think it's slightly underrated in the sense of this was a great recuperation for his please everyone love me again shtick. And it was so seamless, we almost didn't even notice it. So I think a great call there. And then we almost derailed freaking everything because we get WrestlePalooza. This is worse now that it's over, right? Like, I didn't mind the decision at the time. He gets squashed. The match is supposed to be a squash, so it's not supposed to be fun or like good. He's supposed to get his ass kicked, and he succeeded. I felt mixed about Brock being there, as I've mentioned. It was like a big tease. Felt like he was going to be the main character of Chapter 2. This is it. This is it. He ruins some stuff with Sami Zayn, which is why I don't have that match ranked, because a lot of the stuff on TV at this time, it's just Brock ruins it. Then we get to this, Brock wins. Brock hasn't really done anything since. Like, we're still building Brock for something at Rumble or Mania. I know Brock has been with the Vision in different pieces, but like, you know what I mean? Like, what's Brock doing? We still don't know. So Brock's back. Brock's big. Brock got a win over Cena. I thought for sure we were going to revisit this and Cena was going to get his win back. Nope. I think, and I don't like this decision. You can think what you want. I think this was Cena going, I want to get Brock over again since he's back. You know, let's reintroduce him. I'd be happy to do it, and I hope he's received well. I don't like that he did that. That's me. And the match wasn't good, so this is bad. It's not woke. You know, I'm not offended that they did it. I understand, but again, it's the execution's not good. You defend, fine. You don't mind if Brock's here. I might even get to that point if he does cool stuff and we're able to find out more, maybe. But this wasn't good. It just wasn't good, and I'm gonna leave it there because let's freaking go, dude. I after this, it's all vibes. That's the other thing. Like, it's for me, it's a comparison piece as we look through this. I think the Brock piece is a misstep. We didn't cross it up. I don't think it built to anything. Versus this, we get this match basically out of necessity somewhat. We need to fill some gaps. I think at this point, some storyline pieces have fallen apart. I also think very literally, AJ puts himself in this match after Cena and Paul, where he gives a shout out. I think literally says like he does the Styles Clash, and it's like, I'm not going to get to wrestle these guys, so I'm doing their moves. Styles goes online, kind of gets a movement going of, but I want a match with you in your last year. So we get it here on Crown Jewel. I'm so grateful that we got this match. It's for what it is, it's perfect. It is a highlight reel. I watched it again. This is one of the matches along with the Paul match. You can watch this full on YouTube. I think I forgot how much they did have built up, like the entrance and the announcement. This was TNA versus WWE. This was a shout out to literally 25 years of our lives, 23 years of our lives that have passed with both of these guys. And we do get some match before it just becomes all big spots and shout outs. So I don't think it was just a spot fest. I certainly think they built some stuff in and they set it up like, all right, let's one up each other. Let's go. And but that said, I don't want to take away that this is a collection of moments, and the moments were awesome. I'll say right here, this isn't GOAT for me because, you know, if you watch our reaction, you might like it to Cena's last match. I consume a lot of wrestling content and talk about it with my best friend and cousin, Zach, who is getting back into wrestling. And I had the thought where this match isn't for folks who, this match is so much more enjoyable the more you get. I just do think, even in the spots where I'm like, whose move is that? I found myself kind of missing out. So I think it rewards you for the more you know, which is great, but I don't know if it's GOAT because it's a little specific, but it is certainly, I'll just put it here, must watch. This match is rad. It is maybe my favorite match of the year because it is so feel good. The Bray Wyatt spot is immaculate and just, it makes me emotional literally talk about it, and only wrestling can do this moment. How cool. I just think this was a great way, like thinking of all the other rivals that Cena encountered throughout, like they all could have been this. This was perfect. It's so good. They gave shout outs to each other in their career and their own rivalry. We get the big tombstone into AA finish. And it's just, I think, you know, a match in a retirement run where the crowd's like, we got to see that is awesome. And so this match is so cool, and we could have had 12 months of this, and the fact that I feel that way means this is top of the list. Like this is probably the one. The storyline pieces are why Chamber gets that nod to like GOAT. This is the best match for me. And I've heard some people online say that's not a match. It's just big spots. Well, you've never played 2K, have you? Load up the finisher bar and let him fucking have it, you know? I swore for no reason. But that's how I feel. This is so fun. And I teased it a bunch at the beginning. What TV match could I possibly be including? Including, we get to Cena's final Boston show. We've announced this big tournament. I did a fantasy booking if you'd like to see more. That video went up, and then he immediately had this night with Dominic. And I'm like, well, I guess Dominic's not winning the tournament, is he? There's a world where they do this instead, and I wonder what people's reaction that living in the world we are now, where people are very currently controversially reacting to him and Gunther. Everything with Dominic and setting up his final Raw was awesome. Their promo was great. It was perfect for Cena's run, not just the match, but the spell he got to have then into Survivor Series. We got to have him get his Grand Slam championship, which was perfect. They should have done that. I'm glad they were able to do it. This, for me, definitely elevated Dom. I just think it did for sure. He got his win back, and we'll talk about that in a second. This match and the promo with it are must watch because this is what I'm saying where they could have done this. I think part of, to tease a little bit of the reasons that I think no one's going to be able to fully argue against some of the criticisms of the Gunther thing is less the match and more the selection of Gunther. I think it was a weird choice to, again, I'll talk more about this more when I do the video eventually of how I would fantasy book this year, because I think Gunther is probably the right choice, but there's a world where they could have gone, who's the young dude that isn't established like Gunther? I'm certainly glad and think he is elevated from his win. I get why they chose him. We'll get to that in a bit. But it's different when it's Dom. And you know what I mean when I say that. Like, that is, it's you and it's now. And I think that was what the tournament was, what it sounded was going to be like. And if they didn't do that, which they didn't, I'm certainly happy we got, I think, an acknowledgement that this was the mini version of that of, oh, you want me to put my stamp of approval on a young dude right now? I will share ring time and promo time with him and Triple H, who he also punks. Like, it's great. You watch that and you're an immediate Dominic fan. Everyone already loves Dirty Dom. It was perfect. So everything Dom has done with it since then made me feel like it was a perfect choice. The match is great for a TV match. It is must watch. It's really good. For what they were given, they couldn't have done better. And it led well into, I wish we got more Cena time to like build this out. But then Dom gets it back. Liv returns. It's scummy. It puts it over. We get the fun Liv play on Cena's heel turn to help Dom get the win back and to win back his title at Survivor Series. I think that match was pretty good. I didn't like the build to that as much, and I just think the Judgment Day components of it versus just being about Dom and his ascendancy would have been the route I would have liked to see them go a little bit more. I get it, and bringing Liv back in made sense for that. I understand. But I didn't like it as much as a match as the first one. And I certainly, especially combining that night with the promo, that's higher. But this was still good. It was fun. Again, another thing he should have done is give that belt back to Dom. So that's a good move there. And that, ladies and gentlemen, leaves only one more match that I will be talking about. It is the controversial, the ultimate, right? Penultimate and then ultimate. The final match of John Cena's career, we think. I think it is him versus Gunther. I'm recording this day after. I watched it live with a friend, as I mentioned, which I think live streaming. So I think that changes my perspective on it. I am going to not, in any different way. I'm going to look at the same way I've looked at all the other matches. Right now in the moment, it is easy for me to separate my criticisms of how we got here versus my thoughts on the match. I in the moment certainly thought Cena was going to win. I thought they were kind of building to it. You can kind of see it in the stream. I like looking back, I feel like I'm caught off guard that he taps. So maybe there's some argument there for the nitpicking the match of, could you have set that up? I've sat with that a little more, and even to myself have been like, I think I just really wanted Cena to win, and I don't think it's wrong that I wanted that. I think that's what the characters want you to root for. I think you can make an argument he shoulda, or there's a lot of debate now. Should he have passed out instead of tapped out? I have an opinion on that. But listen, the whole build was about him tapping. Like, maybe we should have just got more Gunther specific build, and he's tapping out fools the whole time, and it's like a character built-in thing. Don't get me wrong, he was tapping people out. He like broke LA Knight's spine, it looked like. So all that to say, like, they built it. I you can't make your eyes see something they don't want to. I think the live crowd added to this match, as I think on it. Like, their reaction was vulgar, but it was emotional, and it was John Cena and Gunther wanted them to hate Gunther and to love John Cena more than they've loved anything else. And they did that. And they were really pissed that in a wrestling world where people choose outcomes, someone would choose that outcome that they were rooting against so hard. That's what they wanted to happen. So I don't think we can have our cake and eat it too. I think that this match was perfect in Cena's run. I think, we can argue about should they have told this story different or better, but we can all know what the story is. Like, you can't always do that in matches. I think the decision for Cena to give up in that way when he hasn't isn't a betrayal of his character when it's literally the last thing his character does. And to do it with a smile on his face and be like, that was always how it was going to go. Like, it's Cena's character in the ring and out of the ring. And I felt this in the match. I just do. I can't make myself think something different. It's just what I feel like. Cena wanted to win and to tell the story of, I wouldn't have wanted to leave the business and felt like I'm still the best at it. And that's not what happened, right? Like, the business continues. He did help build it up, and now it runs without you. That's what happened. So I think that's good. Boy, was he in that sleeper a long time. So for me, this isn't GOAT, but it is must watch, and it's good. This is a really good match. And it had the right winner. I also don't think he should have passed out, because I know that, like, that some ways honors, like, even in the end, Gunther couldn't do it. Gunther would have still said he gave up. We would have the same outcome. It's just more murky. And then can you imagine the crowd? Their reaction is John Cena is passed out. He's not even able to look at them and somewhat calm them down. Like, Triple H comes out and Cena's just like, so that doesn't make sense to me either logistically. So I think the tap out was good. Is there a way to make it more clear that it's about to happen? Do you do the rope kick back to the center of the ring? I feel like used to be the standard. This is the signal that he's not getting out of the hold. But the crowd didn't want it to happen. So I don't know if they ever would have saw it and still would have reacted the way they did. That said, great match. Cena got all the licks in. I cheered. I think it made Gunther look rad as hell. I think he's a great heel, and he played it perfect. He's so smug. And he played like, I can't believe you're still in it. Well, the whole time we were watching, we were going, Triple H loves Rocky movies, and this was Rocky 4. This was Drago and Creed. It just was. Kill me. So it's also why I think that we're building to Cody and Gunther, and then that's the end of Rocky 4. But that said, this match was great. Cena was able, what I love about it is this, and this is what I'll end on. This whole year was about honoring Cena or whatever. I love that in his final match, he put someone over only in a way his character could, which is he doesn't tap out. So he gave his last opponent a tap out as the ultimate, this is the most I can give you. That's great. It's clearly what he wanted. I thought this was, you know, is every match better when no one in the arena likes one guy and everyone in the arena would give their kidney to the other dude? I think so. So it's just a classic, like, you're the worst, you're the best match. They hit all the notes. You can see me in the match reacting, being like, we got to get a table spot on the outside. Boom. We got to get the big reversal off the top rope. Boom. Gunther splash, there it is. Him pointing at him, even though I was like, he's definitely at some point gonna go and like, this is your hero, and he did that. That's my Bane voice, I guess. So this was great. I really had a good time with it. I think people's reactions are fun. I'm glad everyone's feeling so much about it. My last thought on it is this. Am I even gonna call these folks? If you're watching this, still watching this, thank you. That's my genuine reaction. I'm so grateful that you're consuming this content. If you're watching this and you're like, they should have done what AEW did in the Sting match, that's fine. Can I bring up a counterpoint, which is you liking the Sting match better? And I think I might like the Sting match better. So does that make me more legitimate? This doesn't make this bad, And I know what you're saying is they should have put him over. He didn't want to get put over. And I know that Sting didn't want to get, but Darby was like, we're going over. So they did it. I'm not calling Sting an asshole because he won his last match. I'm just saying that's not what they wanted to do here. And I think it's fine they didn't do that. You can like the Sting one more. I think that's fair. You can think that the tradition of going out on your shield shouldn't be a platitude. I think that's fine and probably true. But that's John Cena wanted to do the traditional thing, and he got to do it. So, like, let's not comparison. I'm doing it. This whole list is fine. Just because something's better than something else doesn't make the rest of the stuff worse, right? So, I just find it funny when people are like, the Sting match was the greatest retirement match of all time. Why wasn't this the greatest retirement? Like, if one's that good, just let it be that good. And I think this was up there. I think this was, I just did talk about how this whole year went. I don't know if they would have ended it any other way. And I don't know if you could have gone to the Gunther part like this. They nailed it. They did it really well. So just kudos to them there. Those are the must-watch matches. And I really think that's a good, like, if you watched everything in the must-watches, I think you get a really good symbol of this year for Cena and just some of his best work overall. And his final memory being all those cool video packages, the tributes in the ring. And then, I said it all night last night, but I think in a year of balancing, celebrating himself with the company that wanted to celebrate him, and this is my last chance to put other guys over, a career of being lamented for not putting more people over, I think it's great that he put someone over in a way he hadn't for 20 years. That's awesome. And it's very Cena that no one can decide if it's the best or the worst thing that's ever happened. So with that said, I leave it to you in the comments of final decision making. Was this the best? Was it the worst? Are you a random lover of the R-Truth match? Let me know. Are you pissed that I didn't rank him versus and Sheamus and Ray versus Judgment Day as probably pretty good? Like, let me know. I hope you like this. If you want more wrestling related content, more rankings, please get in the chat. Otherwise, stay happy, stay healthy, stay rad, stay bad. Have a grand old time, and we will see you very soon here on Flurry Sports. Fuck yeah.